Well, now that Joe Biden is president-elect of the United States of America, a lot is expected to change in terms of policies around the economy, healthcare and foreign relations because, well, he had repealed and replaced all changes made by the Obama administration, that of course being Donald Trump, which Biden himself has, well, deputized over. Now, for a look at this and more on, we have Lavan Gopaul, Director at Africa Merchant. Lavan, welcome to the program. Let's start probably right there. President-elect Biden has got a lot on his plate. Coronavirus, without a doubt, is possibly the biggest one that he has to tackle right now. Then he's going to redo all the things that he had done with Obama and the Obama administration and try and sign executive orders to fix what Trump has, what a lot of people call broke over the past 4 years.
So there are a number of different factors that come into play with the elections that are also contested by Donald Trump, and that is a problem on its own. There are a number of economic takeaways. You started off by mentioning Obama, and one of the important aspects of Obama's administration was his healthcare policy, which we often refer to as Obamacare. And this has been a cornerstone of the Biden campaign. He had indicated that, of course, he's going to reach out to the poorest of the poor and to try and make sure that everyone has Medicaid and Medicare, which is a big part of the Obamacare policy. And he was also going to take it a step further. It's something like 120 million Americans that are affected by these changes that he's likely to put into place. Of course, one of the first things that he will do in office, and he's already started on that trend, is to take charge of the COVID-19 problem. And so healthcare does feature very strongly in Joe Biden's change of administration and economic changes. It's important to notice that even though he may have these ambitions, he will still have to tackle Congress and Senate. So he would need the ratification of both houses. And as it seems, the Democrats and the Republicans are almost evenly balanced in the Senate and in Congress.
Yeah, in fact, in the Senate, it's still 48 seats apiece. In the House, the Democrats still have a slight lead there with 213 seats. But it's going to be interesting. First and foremost, Joe Biden still has not received the keys to the White House. The transition team is set aside already, has Joe Biden, and as far as Trump is concerned, he is not going to make it easy, especially because the team that should be working with the transition from the the incumbents, Trump and President-elect Biden, is supposed to be working with both these parties as it is today to try and make a smooth handover. And that's not happening anytime soon, according to what the reports are from Donald Trump.
Now, this is very unusual when you consider previous administrations that have taken over at the White House. The baton is handed over, and it is very much a clean and smooth transition. You've also had claims from other senior Republican members like George Bush Jr., who's come out and already given congratulations to Joe Biden for what he calls a fair election race. Whilst all of this is happening, Trump himself has decided to take a back seat. He's normally very vocal in media about these things. He's taken a back seat, and he's already made rumblings that he will look to the courts to try and challenge these elections. I would also like to point out that as far as the international arena goes, China, who's a very, very important trade player globally, has not given the congratulations to Joe Biden as yet, whereas many of the other world powers, important nations, already congratulating Biden on this victory. China's stance is a very careful method in that they still have more than 2 months that they would have to deal with the Trump administration before Biden officially sits in the White House, and they wouldn't want to disturb an already fragile relationship that they have with the Trump administration.
Indeed, we saw this as well, the fact that the Kremlin has also not come out and congratulated Joe Biden either, but we have seen some of the European countries, Germany, Angela Merkel has done so. So we've seen that there is movement in that way, but let's come back to the economics of it. Stocks climbed Monday on the back of possibly a Biden, presidency. A lot of people saying Joe Biden is good for the markets, in particular for South Africa, as we sit here.
Now, historically, the Republican candidates have always been very strong for business. They have been very good for markets. Typically, the Democrats would look at social spending. And you will be aware that whilst I'd mentioned the healthcare spending that Biden has in mind, he also wants to put 11 million U.S. citizens back to work. And he's looking at spending quite a bit in their economy. Of course, he's hoping that that sort of activity will lead to a higher GDP growth. And that's what some of his senior advisors have been punting. The important aspect, of course, is this will be fueled by a 4% increase in corporate taxes in the U.S., and that is bad news for business. So as that comes through as a decision where they move from 24% to 28% corporate tax, you're likely to see some resistance from Congress and Senate. And of course, markets will not like that move. At the moment, the celebration that you're seeing is some dollar weakness in the environment, and that's fueling a little bit of trade and enthusiasm in the markets because of the dollar weakness. The other important fact is Joe Biden as a persona is a lot more stable than Trump. And so business is looking forward to stable trade relations with the globe from the U.S. Yeah. And I think that sort of enthusiasm is felt in markets. But once the decisions to start playing with the tax levels and other sort of important spending that will require funding, you may see company reactions looking a little bit on the negative, and you might see markets taking a dip at that point.
Yeah. For now, he's still president-elect. Only January 20, I think, is when he will be formally become the president of the United States of America. Developing countries like ourselves, how do we position ourselves to be in the good book, so to speak, of the American market? We know the past 4 years have not been pretty kind to developing countries under the nationalism of Donald Trump. Everyone is now clamoring to see which way they will line up for a possible Biden economy that will most likely be open to, in particular, for developing nations such as ours.
So Trump's attitude towards developing countries has been unglamorous. He's had nasty things to say about Africa in particular. And there is a hope that Joe Biden will be something of a savior in terms of the trade relations with a number of emerging nations. Remember, Biden has a very long track record as a senator and has been vocal about apartheid. He's been against some of the evils that we see across the planet. So he takes a very much more, let's say he's got a conscious view in terms of the problems that emerging markets go through. When you look at South Africa in particular, it's important that we have a strong relationship with the U.S. Much of our trade is dependent on the U.S. and their policy internationally because a number of our other trading partners are also dependent. From a South African point of view, immediately you're going to see that dollar weakness, effectively rand strength, being something of a celebration mode. Already our markets are in plus territory. One or two negatives is you might find commodities that will come under risk during the Biden administration. It's likely that weaker energy prices can be with us for a little bit longer because there will be stability in many of the oil producing nations. And you're also likely to see some weakness coming into the metals market. And you're already seeing it today, a weaker gold price. You're already seeing a number of the gold mining operators in deep negative territory today.
Lavan Gopaul, Director, Africa Merchant, thank you indeed for speaking to us. Interesting conversation you just had. Thank you, sir.